My entitled mother-in-law secretly moved her lazy son into my $1,200,000 trust fund house while I was away. My wife demanded a divorce to steal half of it, so I used security footage to ruin their lives regionally. No regrets. My name is Caleb, and I am a 29-year-old senior cloud infrastructure architect. I make a very comfortable six-figure income, but because I work remotely and dress in basic hoodies, my wife's family always assumed I was just a lucky tech nerd who didn't understand how the real world operated. They severely miscalculated my patience. 2 years ago, I married Sarah. Sarah was sweet, or at least she pretended to be during our dating phase. Her family, however, was a completely different story. Her mother, Brenda, was an incredibly entitled woman who viewed my income as a collective family bank account, and her 24-year-old brother, Todd, was a professional couch potato who refused to hold a job. Before our wedding, my parents, who are successful corporate attorneys, gave me a massive wedding gift. They purchased a gorgeous, custom 4-bedroom modern house in a gated community in Denver, valued at $1.2 million. But because my parents understand contract law, they didn't put my name or Sarah's name on the deed. The property was placed entirely inside a private asset protection family trust that my grandfather established decades ago. Legally, I was just a tenant at will, paying zero rent, and the trust owned the asset. Sarah knew about this, but she never truly understood the legal weight of it. She thought a marriage certificate automatically overrode everything. Everything was completely fine until 3 weeks ago, when my corporate director asked me to fly out to Seattle for an intensive 14-day cloud security migration project. It was a massive career opportunity that required 100% of my focus, so I packed my bags, kissed Sarah goodbye, and headed to the airport. Before I left, I explicitly reminded Sarah that my home office was completely off limits. Inside that room, I had my custom $6,000 developer server rig, premium multi-monitor setups, and highly confidential corporate data storage units. I locked the heavy oak door with a physical deadbolt key. The moment my flight landed in Seattle, my schedule became absolute chaos. I was working 18-hour days inside a secure server room, completely cut off from my phone. I only managed to send Sarah quick, short text messages before crashing into sleep at my hotel. She seemed strangely distant. What Sarah didn't realize was that my entire $1.2 million estate was integrated into a private, encrypted local network loop. I had miniature high-definition security cameras hidden inside the vents of every single hallway, the living room, and my private office, completely independent of the basic home security app. On the 5th night of my trip, around 2 a.m., my backup phone received a silent automated security ping. The alert read, "Unrecognized MAC address connected to localized server framework." I wiped the exhaustion from my eyes, opened my encrypted developer tunnel, and pulled up the live security camera feeds. I expected to see Sarah watching TV late. Instead, I saw a scene that made my blood run absolutely cold. My lazy, unemployed brother-in-law, Todd, was sprawled out on my custom Italian leather sofa. He was eating greasy pizza, wiping his hands directly on the pristine fabric and throwing the crusts onto the floor. Next to him was his trashy girlfriend, and they had brought a massive, untrained golden retriever dog into my house. The dog was currently chewing on one of my expensive designer wooden dining chairs, scratching the premium hardwood flooring with its long claws, leaving deep, unrepairable gashes. I instantly switched the camera angle to the kitchen. My mother-in-law, Brenda, was standing there, opening my expensive vintage wine bottles, laughing and cooking greasy food that was splattering all over the custom marble backsplash. The house looked like a crowded suburban frat house after a massive party. I immediately called Sarah, my heart pounding with rage. The phone rang 6 times before she answered in a sleepy, annoyed whisper. "Caleb, why are you calling me so late? I'm exhausted." I responded coldly. "Sarah, why is your entire family living inside my house right now? Why is Todd destroying my living room?" Sarah went completely silent for a moment, realization hitting her. Then her tone completely shifted from guilty to aggressively defensive. "Oh, don't start being a controlling freak, Caleb. My mom's apartment had a plumbing leak, and Todd needed a place to stay while looking for a job. They are family. Don't be so incredibly selfish." I controlled my breathing. "They have been there for 5 days, Sarah. You didn't mention a single word to me." Tell Todd to get his dog off my furniture, and they need to vacate the property by tomorrow morning." Sarah scoffed loudly. "No, Caleb, they are staying until you get back. It's my house too, and I say who stays here." She slammed the phone down, blocking my calls. I realized right then that trying to reason with her emotionally was a waste of processing power. I logged back into the security camera matrix to monitor the situation. What I witnessed over the next 3 days escalated this situation from a family dispute to a legal war. On the 8th day of my trip, I watched Todd walk up to my locked home office door with a crowbar in his hands. My mother-in-law, Brenda, was standing right behind him, encouraging him. "Go ahead, honey," she said. "Caleb is just a nerd hoarding the big screen monitors. You need them for your gaming stream business anyway." Todd jammed the metal crowbar into the expensive custom oak frame, splintering the premium wood into pieces, and forcefully cracked the deadbolt open. They breached my secure perimeter. Todd walked inside, his eyes widening as he looked at my high-end enterprise network architecture and server towers. Instead of just taking the monitors, Todd decided to completely rearrange my office. He began ripping out fiber optic Category 7 network cables while the system was fully powered on, causing an immediate electrical short circuit that completely fried my main $6,000 secondary storage motherboard. He then set up his own cheap gaming console on my customized developer desk, dragging his dirty boots all over the finished surface, scratching the custom carbon fiber layout. They spent the next 4 days completely nesting inside my destroyed workspace, smoking cigarettes inside a non-smoking house. I didn't call Sarah again. I didn't text her. I spent my midnight hours downloading every single second of the high-definition security camera footage. I compiled the files into neatly organized cloud directories labeled property damage, forced entry, asset destruction, and unauthorized occupancy. I forwarded the cloud link directly to my parents' corporate law firm. My father personally reviewed the footage and called me within 10 minutes. "Caleb," he said, his voice deadly serious, "this isn't a domestic issue anymore. This is a felony-level destruction of property belonging to a legal entity, the family trust." My father continued, "The trust fund legal framework allows us to bypass standard tenant eviction delays entirely. They are not tenants. They are unauthorized trespassers, committing active grand larceny and property destruction against commercial corporate assets. I am preparing the execution strategy right now." On the 14th day, my business trip officially ended. I caught the earliest morning flight back to Denver, landing at 9 a.m. I didn't drive straight home. Instead, I drove directly to my parents' office building downtown, where a sheriff's deputy and a private corporate security transport vehicle were already waiting for me. We formed a convoy and drove toward my gated community. I pulled my truck into the driveway at exactly 10:30 a.m. Through the large glass windows of my living room, I could see Todd sitting on my leather sofa playing video games, while my mother-in-law was drinking coffee in her bathrobe. I unlocked the front door using my administrative master key code. The moment the electronic deadbolt slid open, the home security alarm began to chime, alerting everyone. Sarah walked out of the kitchen, holding a mug, her eyes widening in surprise when she saw me. "Caleb, you're early." Before she could even step forward, the sheriff's deputy and 2 burly private security guards stepped inside the foyer behind me. Sarah froze, her face losing all color. "What? What is going on? Why is the police here?" she stammered, looking at the uniform. Brenda and Todd walked into the foyer, Todd still holding his gaming controller. Brenda put her hands on her hips, her voice full of synthetic high society outrage. "Caleb, what is the meaning of this? How dare you bring armed guards into a family home? You are completely humiliating us." The sheriff's deputy stepped forward, pulling out an official red-stamped legal document. "Are you Todd Miller and Brenda Miller?" he asked in an icy, professional tone. Todd blinked stupidly. "Yeah, why?" The deputy handed them the paperwork. "You are currently committing unlawful criminal trespass on assets owned by the Miller Family Estate Trust." The deputy continued, "The legal owner of this property has filed an emergency immediate removal directive due to grand larceny and active felony property destruction. You have exactly 10 minutes to gather your cell phones and step outside. Everything else stays inside the house." Brenda began to scream at the top of her lungs, her face turning an ugly shade of purple. "This is illegal. My daughter lives here. She is married to this pathetic nerd. Sarah, tell them to stop. This is half your house." Sarah turned to me, her eyes full of venom. "Caleb, stop this insanity right now, or I swear to God I will divorce you and take everything." I looked at Sarah, my expression perfectly flat, completely detached from her emotional manipulation. "Go ahead, Sarah," I said calmly. "File for divorce today. But before you do, you should call your lawyer and ask him what happens to a marriage claim when the asset belongs entirely to a multi-generational corporate trust structure." Todd tried to push past the private security guards to go back upstairs and grab his expensive gaming setup. The two security guards instantly grabbed his arms, twisted them behind his back, and forced him toward the front door. "Let go of me! That's my setup!" Todd yelled, pain evident in his voice. The private security guard responded coldly, "Sir, your gaming console was utilized during a forced felony entry to destroy custom hardware assets inside the private home office. It is currently logged as evidence for an active criminal investigation. Step outside immediately or you will be placed in iron deadbolts for resisting arrest." Brenda, Todd, and their untrained dog were literally marched down my concrete driveway by the sheriff's deputy, completely exposed to the stares of my wealthy neighbors who were looking out of their windows. Brenda was still screaming in her bathrobe, holding her broken sandals, looking absolutely unhinged. Sarah stood in the middle of the ruined living room, watching her family get marched down the driveway. She turned to me, her voice shaking with absolute rage. "You are a monster, Caleb. You completely humiliated my mother and brother. I am calling a divorce lawyer right now, and I will make sure you lose this entire house and half your tech stock." I didn't answer her. I simply pointed to the hallway. "You have 24 hours to pack your personal belongings and leave, Sarah. The trust lawyers have already revoked your residential access permission. If you are here tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., the sheriff will return to remove you for criminal trespass as well." Sarah gasped, realizing I wasn't blinking. She ran upstairs, slammed the bedroom door, and locked herself inside. I didn't care. I walked into my ruined home office, took high-resolution physical photographs of the smashed door frame, the ripped fiber cables, and the fried corporate server motherboards. The next morning, at exactly 10 a.m., Sarah walked downstairs carrying 3 large suitcases. Her face was cold, smug, and arrogant. She handed me a folded piece of paper. "My lawyer already drafted the emergency divorce filing, Caleb. Enjoy your empty house while you can, because my legal team is going to strip you naked in court." I accepted the paper without looking at it and handed her an official corporate legal envelope in return. "And this is for you, Sarah. Well, actually, it's for your mother Brenda and your brother Todd. My family trust's corporate litigation team filed this at the county courthouse 2 hours ago." Sarah frowned, snatching the envelope. She opened it, and as her eyes scanned the first page, the arrogant look completely drained from her face. It was a civil lawsuit for felony-level property destruction, commercial software asset damage, and unauthorized commercial data compromise, totaling $154,000. Sarah stuttered. $150,000? Are you insane? Todd doesn't have any money. My mother lives on a fixed retirement pension. They can't pay this." I smiled coldly. "I know they can't, Sarah. That's the beauty of asset protection law. But the trust will secure judgments against them anyway." I explained to her because Todd used a physical weapon, a crowbar, to breach a locked workspace housing federal corporate cloud defense infrastructure. My tech company's legal department also forwarded the hidden security camera footage directly to the district attorney's cybercrimes division. Todd is facing felony criminal charges. Sarah dropped her suitcases onto the floor, her voice losing all of its previous defensive anger, replaced by pure panic. "Caleb, please. He's just a kid. He didn't know what those cables were. He was just trying to help his gaming hobby. You can't ruin his entire future over some stupid computer wires." I looked at her, completely unmoved. "Those computer wires connect to secure enterprise financial cloud servers, Sarah. Todd didn't just damage a desk. He caused a multi-hour network blackout that cost my tech client thousands of dollars in infrastructure SLA penalties. The tech firm is demanding compensation from the trust, and the trust is passing the bill directly to your family." Sarah began to cry, shaking her head. You calculated this. You let them stay here just to trap them. I replied, No, Sarah. I explicitly told you to remove them. You scoffed at me, blocked my number, and told me that it was your house and you decided who stays here. Your arrogance walked your family directly into a federal buzzsaw. She realized right then that she had zero leverage. She picked up her heavy suitcases, opened the front door, and walked down the driveway to where her mother Brenda was waiting in a cheap, beat-up sedan. I watched from my living room window as Sarah got into the car and they drove away weeping. 2 weeks later, the initial divorce mediation session took place at a corporate conference room downtown. Sarah arrived with a cheap, aggressive billboard attorney she hired using her credit card. Her attorney slammed his briefcase onto the table and looked at my parents' high-profile legal team with a confident smirk. Sarah's lawyer leaned forward and said, My client is demanding 50% equity of the residential estate located in Denver, valued at $1.2 million, plus 5 years of spousal support based on Mr. Miller's high-tech salary. If you refuse, we will take this to a public trial and expose his cruel eviction tactics. My parents' lead litigation attorney didn't even blink. He quietly pushed a stack of certified financial and property deed records across the mahogany table. Counselor, your client has zero legal claim to the residential estate. Here is the certified property deed established 4 decades ago. The house belongs entirely to a private corporate trust entity. My attorney continued, Under Colorado state asset protection laws, property owned by a premarital and multi-generational trust structure is completely insulated from marital dissolution claims. Caleb Miller owns 0% of the structure physically. He is a tenant. You cannot claim 50% of an asset your husband doesn't legally own. Sarah's billboard lawyer quickly grabbed the paperwork, his confident smirk instantly evaporating as his eyes scanned the certified corporate trust seals. He leaned over to Sarah and began whispering frantically into her ear. Sarah's face went pale, her jaw dropping open in shock. What do you mean I get nothing? She whispered loudly. My attorney then pulled out a second stack of documents, the high-definition security camera logs, and the repair invoices from the enterprise network server provider. Furthermore, counselor, the trust is currently pursuing a civil judgment of $154,000 against your client's mother and brother for active felony property destruction. He looked directly at Sarah with a cold, piercing gaze. The video footage clearly shows your client, Sarah, standing in the hallway while her brother Todd was utilizing a crowbar to break into a secure commercial workspace. Under state complicity laws, Sarah can be legally added to this civil asset destruction lawsuit as an active co-conspirator. The room went completely silent. Sarah's lawyer closed his folder, leaned back, and looked at Sarah. Sarah, if they add you to that asset destruction lawsuit, your credit rating will be completely destroyed for the next 20 years, and your wages will be garnished until the entire $154,000 is settled. My advice? Sign a clean walkaway settlement right now. Sarah was trembling, tears streaming down her face. She looked at me, pleading with her eyes, hoping to find a shred of the quiet, compliant nerd she thought she married. I simply sat there, arms crossed, my expression as flat and unreadable as the lines of text on a screen terminal. With no other options, Sarah grabbed the pen and signed a total non-conditional marital waiver. She walked away from the marriage with 0% of the trust fund house, 0% of my tech stock, and $0 in spousal support. She had spent 2 years planning to leverage my income, and she ended up with a massive credit card debt from her billboard lawyer. But the absolute nuclear destruction hit her family over the next 6 months. Because my parents' corporate law firm refused to back down, the civil lawsuit against Brenda and Todd went straight to a default judgment. Brenda and Todd failed to appear in court because they couldn't afford a defense attorney. The county judge officially issued a judgment of $154,000 against Brenda and Todd Miller, with a statutory interest rate of 8% accruing annually. The trust immediately executed a wage garnishment directive against Todd's future corporate earnings and placed a lien on Brenda's personal vehicle. Their family credit histories were completely vaporized. In the United States, carrying a felony-level civil property destruction judgment makes it completely impossible to qualify for a traditional bank loan, open a new credit line, lease a decent apartment, or clear a basic corporate background check. Todd tried to apply for a management position at a local retail distribution center to finally start earning money. The moment their human resources department ran his public background screening and saw an active felony property destruction judgment from a corporate trust, his application was instantly flagged as a high-risk security threat and denied. He was forced to take a minimum-wage, cash-only night shift job just to avoid the automatic court-ordered garnishment framework. The lazy couch potato who used a crowbar to ruin my $6,000 network server system was now spend his nights lifting heavy boxes for pennies, his future completely locked out. My mother-in-law, Brenda, had to surrender her sedan to the corporate trust asset liquidators to cover a fraction of the structural damage costs. Without a vehicle, she was completely isolated in her small apartment, unable to travel around Denver without relying on expensive rideshare apps that she couldn't afford on her fixed pension. Sarah was forced to move back into that cramped single-bedroom apartment with her mother. Because her credit card debt was maxed out from her failed legal battle, her financial profile fell below the prime threshold. She now works 50 hours a week as a retail floor assistant, her dreams of a wealthy trust fund lifestyle completely destroyed. As for me, I hired a high-end commercial cleaning and structural restoration crew to completely rebuild my home office. I spent $10,000 of my corporate tech budget installing reinforced steel commercial door panels, a biometric electronic deadbolt access scanner, and an upgraded localized backup server matrix. My property is now an absolute digital fortress. My tech clients were so impressed by how securely I handled the unauthorized corporate data breach logs that they expanded my cloud architecture infrastructure contract, increasing my annual corporate consulting retainers by an additional 40%. A few months ago, I was driving through Denver on my way to a high-end cloud technology networking event. As my truck stopped at a busy red light near a commercial shopping district, I looked out the side window. I saw Sarah standing near a public transit bus stop, holding a worn-out plastic grocery bag, looking exhausted under the gray winter rain. She caught sight of my truck, recognized my face through the glass, and froze. Her eyes filled with a mixture of intense regret, embarrassment, and deep sorrow. She took a step toward the curb, opening her mouth as if she wanted to call my name, hoping for a shred of recognition. I didn't roll down the custom window tint. I didn't acknowledge her presence, and I didn't smile. I felt absolute clinical indifference. To a network architect, an entity that violates the core system security parameters and deliberately wrecks the hardware infrastructure is simply blacklisted and permanently purged from the server host file. The traffic light turned solid green. I pressed the accelerator of my luxury truck, the custom engine roaring smoothly, and moved forward into traffic, leaving her standing alone in the cold puddle on the side of the road. Her entire parasitic family footprint had been completely overwritten by a much cleaner, superior operational data life. This entire intense experience taught me a vital lesson about human dynamics. Entitlement thrives on the assumption that quiet, technical individuals lack the stomach for conflict. People like Brenda and Todd assume that because you don't scream or flex your muscles, you will simply comply with their parasitic lifestyle demands. They mistake analytical patience for weakness, but what they fail to understand is that an engineer doesn't fight by screaming in the front yard. An engineer fights by compiling immutable system logs, validating legal frameworks, securing root-level administrative authority, and executing a cold, structured network shutdown. Today, my life is completely optimized and free of system drag. I am surrounded by genuine, high-caliber professionals who respect legal contracts and personal boundaries. I've also been spending time with Elena, a senior data governance attorney at a major cybersecurity corporation. She understands network logistics, respects system security, and built her own success through real skill. That's the story. Give it a like and subscribe to the channel.